long and colorful history, but too often her history was colored in red. Spain's intervention into the New World is fraught with centuries of disruption, oppression, and outright terror. The politicians of Spain did not learn the lessons of their ever-shrinking empire, or they might have concluded correctly that a tyrant's grasp cannot be held forever, and a free people will find the courage to break the bonds of their servitude. Had they been paying attention, they would have also known in this almost new century that responsible nation neighbors would not stand for tyranny in their own backyard. And so the people of Cuba found the courage to rebel against their masters, and with our help, together we expelled the Spaniard from the island. Now what I have done, I consider to be good service in this nation's history myself, starting as a deputy marshal in the Dakota territories, and then finishing, of course, as president of these United States. But I consider my greatest personal triumph was in leading courageous men unto battle unto the heights before Santiago. Important fact, when I leave the office of president, I shall prefer to be referred to as Colonel, not Mr. President. Now we are here to honor my fellow soldiers who served bravely in Cuba, and so I've worn my battle dress today, and I shall participate in the reenactment of the battle for the Santiago Heights. And I just hope that I'm up for it, because this time I don't have Little Texas and I have to walk the entire way. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are here to celebrate all of American military history, and the theme is the same. This fortification where we gather is an example of American tenacity and purpose. We are a people who not only cherish freedom, but are ready to defend it. This fort was built not only to protect the physical spaces of this harbor and coastline, it was also built to protect the ideals of democracy which they represent from those who would replace it with tyranny. There was a time when nations of the world did not consider the United States to be a player on the world stage. We have thought of as a nation befuddled with its internal affairs and were considered of the second rank. It was the war with Spain that was the catalyst that changed this perception, and our ability as a nation to take united, swift, decisive action caught the world's attention. We challenged the world power in the name of our ideals, on foreign soil, at the cost of our own blood, and this confounded our critics. For these were the actions of a nation of the first order. And to ensure that the nations got the message, as president, I organized a little show of America's might by sending a flotilla of 16 state-of-the-art battleships on a course to circumnavigate the globe. As a show of peace, these ships were painted white. And this fleet called on 20 major ports around the world, logging some 43,000 sea miles. And on that cruise, not only did the American Navy play diplomat, but they also used the time at sea put to test every man, every gun, and their ships evolved into efficient machines of war. Our Navy was welcomed throughout the world, and most nations greeted our sailors as emissaries of peace. But to our foes, the sight of this great white fleet also established the United States as a force to be reckoned with. I am convinced that the belligerent ambitions of the Japanese in the Pacific were reconsidered after this show of American sea power. To be prepared for war is the most efficient means of preserving peace. And most people are familiar with George Washington's words, but few politicians are very good at reacting to them. In fact, Congress was dead set against the White Fleet sailing and threatened to take the funding away. But as I had already secured the funds for it in advance, I dared them to take it back. They did not. The fleet sailed, and America became a world power in the eyes of the nations of the world. Peace and prosperity should be the goals of all civilized nations. But to maintain that peace, the belligerent states must be shown that a nation of democratic ideals will not back down from a fight.